We are here at MJG Studios for the latest installment of the Community Pulse, where we take the pulse of community so we can take action. Welcome to PCS's MJG Studios. This is the Community Pulse.
Welcome to the Community Pulse, where we take the pulse of the community so that we can take action. I am today's host, Courtney Smith, and I am joined today by Connie Simms. Connie is a banking consultant who, for the past year, has been enjoying her retirement.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much for being here, Connie.
Thank you for the invite. Appreciate it.
Of course. Now, today we're going to be discussing avoiding financial pitfalls.
Mm-hmm.
I know about like payday loans and predatory car dealerships, but I know it's more than just those two. Can you talk about like some financial pitfalls?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought up the predatory lending, because that is something that people really need to be aware of. It's when you say that, people say, "What does that mean?"
Yeah.
Predatory lending. It refers to unfair, deceptive, abusive loan practices where lenders impose high interest rates. That is the key.
Okay.
Unnecessary fees, abusive terms on borrowers, and often targeting those with low income, minorities, first time.
Okay.
And so how do you avoid this? Part of it is educating yourself on what you should be looking for.
Okay.
Let's take example, you go to buy a car for the first time.
Yes. And we're all excited.
And you're all excited. You go to a car dealer, and they tell you, "Oh, great, we're glad to have you. As long as you have a job, there's not much down payment." And you're like, "Great," you sign the paper and you leave.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what the interest rate is that they're charging you. You don't know if there's a warranty on the car. You didn't know if they upsold you on items that you don't even need. Oh, you need this, you need that, you need that. So you need to be aware of all those things before you go in.
Okay.
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 That is what I would tell people. And if you're not sure, one thing I tell people, if you're going to not a normal, car dealership, just a small, car dealership where they say $500, you walk away with the car. You need to really do your homework before you go in there.
Okay.
Google that car dealership. See if there's any information on there. Talk to family members or people that you trust.
Okay.
On how to do that. Because if they don't do a credit check, that should be a red flag. Because no one is going to give you a car loan at a reasonable rate if you don't have a decent credit score.
Yeah.
Which goes into a whole nother area of understanding your credit score and knowing what your credit score is.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a different conversation. So talk to your banker.
Okay.
If you have a banker, go in and talk to them and say, "Hey, I'm looking to buy a car loan with you." Some banks offer car loans. Some credit unions offer car loans. And they will offer them at probably a lower rate than what you're going to pay just walking into a car dealership.
Yeah. I shared before we started that when I purchased my first car, I actually got a loan from the credit union I was with at that time. Mm-hmm. I just want to say something. So, and Connie, you might be looking at me and feel free to judge me. But so when I was in college, I lived with my boyfriend at the time, my college sweetheart. Mm-hmm. And it's so true that you don't know anyone until you really live with them. Yeah. I didn't realize that his take on paying bills was a little different than my take. Mm-hmm. And so we bought furniture together. I co-signed. I did not until I moved out. I didn't realize that he was not paying on the furniture until I went to my bank or the credit union to get the loan for the car. Mm-hmm. The loan officer calls me and she says, "You co-signed for somebody, didn't you?" And I said, "Maybe I did." I was like, "But how do you know that?" And she said, "Because I pulled your credit, and this is the only bad thing on there." She said, "But I can clearly see you pay your bills, so I'm going to give you the loan anyway."
Okay.
And so that was an instance of like a bank or a credit union looking at my history, my credit history, but then going deeper and saying, "Okay, wait a minute. she's responsible in every other area except for this.
Mhm.
So let's look at the bigger picture and still give her the loan. And I mean, I paid that loan off for that car without any problems, but it goes back to having that relationship with your bank.
And that is the key, is the relationship.
Mhm.
On a side note, we'll just say very quickly, and I was brought up this way, and I tell my kids that too. Never co-sign for a loan.
Yes.
Because
Ever.
what people don't understand is that when you co-sign for a loan, and even for an account, if you're joint on an account and something goes wrong with that account, you are responsible and it gets reported to the credit bureau.
Okay.
Same thing when you co-sign for a car loan or anything else, furniture in your case. If that other person is not responsible, if you are a responsible person, it goes against both your credits.
Yeah.
And so people need to understand that. But you bring up another good point, and that is the relationship with your banker and or credit union.
Yeah.
Okay? Because that person was nice enough to say, let me look at the whole total picture. But it's because she knew you.
Right.
So it is very important to do that as well.
Okay.
Because things that you do in college, and I teach you all the time,
Yes.
will stay with you as you
Yes.
and a lot of times you forget that
You do.
that even happened, and now it has kind of messed you up when you go to the next steps.
Yeah.
So just being aware.
Yes.
Being aware. And I would tell people all the time, before you go and get that car loan, before you go and buy that big purchase, before you buy a condo, a home, or whatever, check your credit first, see where it is, so that you know what you're working with.
Okay. And with the credit score, does that impact your interest rate?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It absolutely does,
Okay.
because they're looking for you to show that you're responsible, that you pay your bills, and the more you do that, the higher your credit score will be.
Okay.
The other side of that is that if you have no credit, because you haven't, done anything, and so you think, I don't have any credit, so I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
That also, because they don't have anything to look at.
Okay.
So yes, your credit score, the higher your credit score, the lower your rate should be. That is the norm.
Okay.
So when you go to these predatory car loan places,
Mm-hmm.
they don't care about your credit,
Okay.
because that should be a red flag right there.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you have $500, that's the norm. It could be a little bit more, and have a job. They're like, you're good. You could walk right out with the car.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a red flag.
Okay. Okay. And then we touched upon before we started, we had a great conversation before we
Yes.
started. What about payday loans?
Mhm.
They used to be everywhere. Like that used to be the thing. If I'm not mistaken, I honestly think like I saw commercials for
Oh
them.
yes. Oh, all over the place. All over the place.
What exactly are they, and why are they considered like to be so dangerous?
Good question. So, payday loans was a way that you could get. It usually was short term for a small amount, emergency money.
Okay.
That's kind of how it started. You need $500, so you go and get a payday loan. It uses deceptive and unethical means to convince you to accept a loan under unfair terms.
Okay.
Because the rates on those payday loans, really, when you looked at it compounded, was 500, 600%.
That is crazy.
You would never, ever pay the loan.
Right. You're gonna die and the loan is still gonna
And
be
it's
active.
Because what would happen is you would go to a payday loan, say, I need $500. They're always going to want you want to be working, and they always want your bank account information, because what they're going to do is they're going to know your pay dates, and they're going to go in there to get their money, your payday.
Okay.
Well, a lot of people that got them didn't realize that they were going to take the full amount on their payday.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that would either overdraw their account,
Mm-hmm.
or it means now you can't pay your other bills that you have. So it was just then you go get another payday loan.
So it's just a vicious cycle.
It was just a vicious cycle, and then
Okay.
they're paying all this interest, and so you would never ever get it paid off. They're expensive.
Okay.
The interest rates are extremely high, and then they damage your credit because now you haven't paid your loan, and they do report you to the credit bureau.
Okay.
So now they've damaged because they require you to give your bank information. Now they can keep going in there to your account to try and get their money. So then what happens is it leads to debt collection.
Okay.
Because they will report you to get debt collection. So now you haven't paid the loan, you've had to get another loan, your credit is damaged, and now you're in debt collection.
Mm-hmm.
So no
Right.
to payday loans. However, the laws changed on that. So
Okay.
they really can't do a lot of the payday loans
Okay.
the way that they used to. And you're right, they used to have commercials, they were on TV, and everybody you think, especially, again, it's young people, minorities, low income, they're like, oh, let me just go get a payday loan.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the car titles.
Okay.
Same
Explain
concept.
that.
So the car titles, you would go and you would give them your car title, they would give you a loan against it. Kind of like pawn shops.
Okay. Okay.
And then if you don't pay them, then they've got your car loan. They've got your car deed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they got a lien on your car. So now they take over your car. You still owe them money.
And you're still
How is
paying
that
your
helpful?
Yeah, that's
So that again is a no-no. So
Okay.
they're all red flags. You know, but people that understand it and manage it, that's not who they're appealing to.
okay.
They're appealing to the people that need that cash right away.
Desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if I'm desperate, I just want to figure out what's the fastest route
Exactly.
to me getting
And that's what
this
they
money.
tell you. You can walk out with $500.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I know customers, you know, when working at the bank who got these payday loans,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would come to the bank and say, "Oh, can you just send it back?" And I was like, "Well, they're just going to come in a different way
Yeah.
to get it," you know. And I would always tell them, "Don't do that if you don't have to, because it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
It's never ending, and it just, you know, it's not helpful.
Okay.
You think it's helpful, but it's not helpful."
Yeah.
And so and even for people that pay it off,
Mm-hmm.
when they really figure it out,
It's
they have
money
paid
that
4 or 5 times
That's
the
crazy.
amount that they borrowed
yeah.
by the time they paid it all off.
Well, what are some if I'm working, I'm not making too much, but I'm able to manage my bills, but I do, let's just say there's an emergency and I do need like $500. What are some alternatives?
So you should go to your banker
Okay.
and say, is there a small personal loan that I can get?
Okay.
Okay. Is there a line of credit? If you own a home, you can get a line of credit on your home
Okay.
at a much lower rate, and can return that. But I would first see, again, if you're part of a credit union, and if you're part of a bank, to see if there's a small amount, a personal loan that you could take
Okay.
for a smaller amount. If you cannot, then what I would do is Google personal loans,
Mm-hmm.
because there are places that can give you loan if you're working, you know, if
Okay.
your credit is decent, even if it's not so, and it's gonna be less than you going to get a predatory loan or a payday loan.
Okay.
So first go to your bank or credit union, next Google loans. If you have, and people probably don't want to say this, but if you have a 401k at your job,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of employers will allow you to borrow against that 401k
Okay.
at a small amount, and they take it right out of your paycheck and pay it back.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's another option as well.
Okay. All right. Good to know. And now we're seeing this buy now, pay later.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people use them. Are they a helpful tool, or would you see this as another financial pitfall that's like disguised as something that's helpful? And how should people, if it is helpful, how should people use them as responsibly as possible?
Great question. I will use myself as an example. I purchase all my big ticket items I ask them, you know, if I go and buy furniture, I recently had to buy new air conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
and I always ask the question, do you have a 0%, you know, where you don't have to pay any interest for a year or 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Most places will. And that's how I buy all my big ticket items.
Okay.
Because I feel like I don't want to have to pay that much up front if I don't have to.
Yeah.
but I make sure that I pay it off during the time period that they're offering.
Okay.
So if you know how to manage it that way, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And I even asked, when I purchased my furniture, and I did it that way, and I asked the gentleman, I was like, how do you not make any money? Because if you letting people pay it off over time, he said because 95% of the people do not pay it during that time period. So for the 5% of you that do,
like
it's fine.
Yeah.
So I say use it as an advantage,
Okay.
but make sure you manage it and make sure you pay it off before that time period.
Okay.
Just bought a new computer,
Mm-hmm.
Best Buy,
Mm-hmm.
same thing, 18 months. I was like, okay, absolutely.
Right.
And I'll make sure I have it paid off before that.
Okay.
You know, but instead of giving you the $2,000, I'll just keep my $2,000 and pay it in chunks.
Okay.
So you have to be able to manage it. The other thing I would tell people is look at your statements.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though it says you have 18 months, 24 months to pay it off and you won't be charged interest,
Mm-hmm.
it has to tell you, that's law now, it has to tell you on your statement how much interest is accruing
Mm-hmm.
and what that rate is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, say for example, on the computer I just bought, $2,000, we'll use round numbers,
Mm-hmm.
$2,000, paying it off in 18 months. Each month I look at my statement and see how much interest is accruing.
Okay.
And it'll say on there, 0 amount as long as paid by this date.
Mm-hmm.
If not, at the end of that date, they will add on all that interest.
So from
For
the
that
date of
18 months.
purchase
Yes.
until, that's a lot of,
Yes, that's
Okay.
a lot of interest.
that is.
Okay?
Yes.
So if you're gonna do that, make sure you can pay it off,
Okay.
okay? And if you can't, at least know how much in interest you're going to be accruing.
Okay.
Because that last statement is going to add all that interest onto there, okay?
Okay.
So it's a great tool, but you have to know how to manage it,
Okay.
okay?
Oh. Oh, okay, we will talk about this. How do predatory lending practices disproportionately affect Black and Brown communities? And what system or individual protections exist to push against this?
So, you are absolutely correct. We talked about it. Most of the people that are in a position where they need to have this loan are minorities, elderly,
Mm-hmm.
and low income.
Yeah.
So, what I would say, well, with regards to the payday loans, the government finally said you cannot do that
Mm-hmm.
any longer, and they pretty much stopped that. Okay. Protecting yourself, there are a lot of organizations as your own,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that you can go to before you go to get the loans
Okay.
and say, you know, can you help me with best way to do this?
Okay.
If you have a banking relationship, I would always say start there,
Okay.
or credit union,
Mm-hmm.
start there. But if not, look for organizations. If you're in a township,
Mm-hmm.
go to your township and ask them, I need help with figuring out the best way to get a short-term loan without feeling like I'm being abused
Okay.
with the, so those are your options that you can go through.
Okay.
And ask questions. I always tell people, be your own self-advocate
Mm-hmm.
for whatever you do. Before you go anywhere and they tell you, oh yes, I can help you, this is it,
Mm-hmm.
ask the questions.
Mm-hmm.
What's the rate? You know, are you reporting me to a credit agency?
Mm-hmm.
Are you pulling my credit?
Mm-hmm.
What are the repayment amounts? And make sure it's something that you can afford.
Okay. Okay.
So those are a lot of the things that you can do. And there are a lot of nonprofit organizations that are out here
Mm-hmm.
that will help you, okay? And so I would Google and say, organization near me that can help with this,
Okay.
and go and talk to them
Okay.
before
Yeah.
you do it, okay?
Before you get in and you're like, oh my
Yes.
goodness, how did I get into this?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, there are places, you know, if you can't go to your bank, there are places where you can get a loan,
Okay.
and the rates will be better than if you're going to, say, a loan shark type
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Okay, so definitely be yourself. Now, and if you don't, I mean, some of my seniors, they don't have access to the internet and
Mhm.
all of this, or even if they do, they don't know how to use it properly.
Mhm.
So my church, we give
Okay.
them that advice.
Yeah.
So if you belong to a church, then there should be someone in that church that can help you as well.
Okay. Yeah. I remember a church I used to belong to actually had a credit union, like set up in the basement.
Yeah.
And every Sunday after church, we would go down.
My church still has it.
Nice.
Yes, they still have it. They have the accounts at the bank.
Aw.
And we've had it for over 75 years.
Yeah, because I'm approaching 50, and this was when I was in elementary school.
Yep.
I remember my mother would be like, making her little deposits.
Had the little books.
Yeah.
That you had.
Yes.
But I mean, like with our credit union at the church, you got to be a member of the
Mhm.
church.
Yes.
But they would do that.
Mhm.
And so if you needed a loan, you could go right upstairs to the credit union
Mhm.
and they would, work that out for you.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah.
So there are definitely places to go. You don't have to take your car title to the
Yeah.
car title
Yeah.
place, You don't always have to go to the pawn shop.
Okay.
Look at different ways. So if you
Okay.
belong to a church, that actually is a good avenue as well.
Okay.
Because there should be somebody in that church. All my church members come to me if they have any questions. So your bank
Mhm.
or credit union, your church,
Mhm.
or your township.
Okay. And I
They
like
should
how
be
you
able to help
mentioned, I don't think people even think about their township. Like, I'm in the city, and it's like, oh, talk to your alderman. Like, talk to the person who is responsible for your community.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what they're there for.
Yes.
A lot of times we just don't use our resources.
We
Or
don't.
we don't know what the resources are.
We don't. And a lot of times when you are in a situation where you are desperate, you don't necessarily think about, okay, what are my options? It's pretty much like, all right, I need this now. But sometimes you just have to step back, take a deep breath before you go into something and you're just like, I can't get out of it now. Or I might have to take a path of like bankruptcy to get out because they're just like
There isn't anything
there
to
isn't anything
And
I
the
can
predatory lenders, they're advertising all the time.
do. Yeah,
So then you're like, oh, wait a minute, I just saw that on TV. Let me call them.
right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So that, you're right. You have to take a step back and say, what are my options? What I can do. So I think this is great that you all are doing this type of thing so that people can look and say, oh, there are some other options
Yeah.
I should be looking at.
Because people
Absolutely.
just don't, you don't know.
Nope.
You just don't know.
You don't.
Yeah. And so we talked about how like different laws have been put in place to protect people, but what should someone know about their rights as a borrower or a consumer? And are there laws or agencies that protect people from predatory financial practices?
There are agencies that are out there. Again, I would Google, and I don't know them offhand, but
Okay.
I know that they do exist.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
There are a lot of nonprofit organizations that help exactly with that.
Okay.
But what I tell people is try and do it before you're in the situation. Because
okay.
once you're in the situation, you sign paperwork
Yeah.
saying that
That's a legal document.
it is a legal document. And even though we don't read all the small print,
Mhm.
what they're saying in that small print is that you agree that you are going to pay this interest rate, you are going to pay this amount. And so legally,
Mhm.
it's going to be more difficult to not get you out of that situation, but to help you along with that situation.
Okay.
So there are organizations that can do that. But I would tell people, try your best to find out all that information before you sign the dotted line. And I
Okay.
tell people, don't sign anything without reading it all.
Yeah.
And if there's something that doesn't make sense, you have to be your own self-advocate and say, explain this part to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand what this is saying.
Yeah.
Even with the 0% when you go to buy your furniture, it says it in there because I
Mm-hmm.
read it. And it says it in there that if you do not pay at the end of this time period, the accrued interest will be due.
Okay.
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 So I know that going into it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would tell people that you have to. But yes, there are definitely organizations. Again, your township
Mm-hmm.
is your first place to go
Mm-hmm.
to say, I need help with this. Can you direct me?
Okay.
And they should be able to do that.
Okay. Okay. Now let's just say someone does fall into like the payday loan trap or now they're without a car, but they still have all these payments because they signed over the title. How can someone rebuild financially after they've already fallen into these traps?
So, again, once you are in the situation, it is very difficult to
Okay.
get out of it, but
Okay.
it is not impossible.
Okay.
Again, you need to go to organizations that can help you. You need to try and rebuild your credit. Different banks have different programs to help you do secured credit to help build your credit,
Okay.
and things of this nature.
Okay.
And I would go to, I tell people all the time, if you are in financial stress, say for example, you lose your job,
Mhm.
you can't pay your bills.
Mhm.
I mean, unfortunately, in the environment we're in today, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
You need to be proactive and call your creditors
Mhm.
and tell them your situation
Mhm.
and see if there is something they can do to help you.
Okay.
Most of them will,
Yes.
because they
Yes, they
want
will.
to still get
They
paid.
want that money.
Yes.
Yes.
So, but if you don't make that call, they're just going to keep, adding it on, reports. So be your own self-advocate. Call them.
Yeah.
Call the car dealership and say, I'm in a financial situation now. Can you do anything to help me? I don't want to not pay my loan, but I need, a lot of times they will give you a 90-day,
Yeah.
you don't have to pay to help you, there are things that can happen,
Yeah.
but you have to call them
Yes.
and ask them
Yeah.
for that information.
I definitely co-sign on that. Last year I had surgery. Oh, we can pause if you want to do something.
I just need the water.
You get water. It's not live. That's the beautiful thing about not being, and even if we were live, it's just like, look, I need some water.
Thank you.
So last year, I was not working a job that was really paying. I was a part-time employee, not making a lot. I had a business loan, and I was going into a surgery where I knew I would not be working, like for a set amount of time. And so I called the company responsible for the business loan, and I was like, I don't know.
I have a hardship.
I was like, I have a hardship. I don't know. And the first person was like, well, we can reduce it by like $50. Okay, you're not telling me what I want to hear.
Right.
So I was like, goodbye, I'll call back. And so I called back. The second person, the reduction still was not to my satisfaction. I'm like, do you all hear that I'm not going to have any income coming in? Like, I don't,
Right.
like, what's going on? So finally I was like, put me into a manager.
Mm-hmm.
And the manager was like, for 2 months, can you do $75 each month? That's fine. I can do that.
Yep.
That's doable. And once the payments started back again, I can make the payments. I'm almost done paying. I think I have like 2 more months, thank God. But it was making that call, not only making the call, but when I heard the first 2 offers, I'm like, this is not satisfactory because no, I cannot make this amount. So let me talk to somebody who can work with me. Yeah.
And again, that's being your own self-advocate.
Yes.
I do it all the time. I call, if I have, usually I have a complaint or a problem that's not, for example, I had an airline ticket that I bought, and right after I bought it, I realized it didn't have the times that I needed, and that was on me.
Right.
But I called them, and they told me, oh, there's nothing we can do. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, well, can I just speak to your supervisor?
Yeah.
The supervisor, well, that's just our policy. There's nothing we can do. I was like, okay. Then I need to speak to someone else, please. And then he put me on hold for like 30 minutes.
Right.
And came back
Right.
and it was like, well, we're going to make an exception this time. So I know, how that is. But again, a lot of times people just don't call. They just accept it the way it is. And so you always have to call.
Yeah.
What's the worst side? The worst, they keep saying no.
Right.
Well, then at least you tried.
Right.
But more than likely, you're going to get some kind of help. But if you didn't make that call.
Right. They're not gonna know. Yeah.
So that's perfect.
Yeah. And so if you could put one financial pitfall on a billboard and warn every young or first-time earner to stay away from it, what would it be and why? And it can be any fund. It doesn't
Do
necessarily.
not, well, here's something that is very dear to me. Do not get credit cards that you cannot pay for,
Okay.
okay? Because the interest rates on credit cards have gotten astronomical now.
Yes.
And when I teach my workshops, I always say, how many people in here know how much they're paying on their credit card?
Mm-hmm.
Well, first I ask, how many credit cards do you have?
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, do you know the rate that you're paying on your credit card? The average rate on a credit card now is 29.9%.
Yes.
And again, on the statements, it has to tell you that if you just pay the minimum, how many years it's going to take you to pay your credit. People don't look at that. So I show them copies of it, and I was like, look at your statement, bring one in, let me take a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And paying the minimum, it's going to take you 32 years to pay this credit card off. It's just not worth it.
And then if you're still adding to it,
It's revolved.
yeah.
Because we are a society that we want everything now.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it is not a save and wait, or
No.
we want it now.
Mhm.
And that is how they advertise to us.
Mhm.
You know, get it now.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I tell young people is that don't go and you need one credit card.
Okay.
You need one credit card, and you need to look at the rates on those credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have several credit cards, then get that 0% that's 24 months. There
Okay.
are places out there that are doing that.
Okay.
Put it all on there and budget yourself so that you can pay it off in that
Mhm.
time period. Otherwise, you are paying for that item, that outfit that you got,
Mhm.
4 times over
Yes.
by the time
Yes.
that it's paid for. So that is one of the pitfalls that I think that we do, because we as a society are, I want it now.
Yes.
And so, and it's easy to get credit.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just go and you rack it all up.
Mm-hmm.
And then it takes, and I, for one, had to learn my lesson with that
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
So that's one of the pitfalls that I would tell people.
Okay.
And secondly, I would tell them what my mother always told me. You cannot have money, but you have to have good credit.
Mm. Yes.
And
Because
so,
good credit will take you a long way.
and so that is what I would tell people. Make
Okay.
sure you understand your credit score, have good credit,
Okay.
and do not have a lot of unnecessary debt.
Okay.
That would be my billboard.
That's a billboard that needs to be like out there now.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely, yes. And pay yourself first.
Okay.
Pay yourself first. You know, when I was working in banking, I would always have my employees participate in a 401k plan.
Okay.
Yeah. Even whatever, find out what the company is matching and put that in.
Okay.
Because pay yourself first.
Yeah.
And that's money you don't even look at.
Yeah.
That's for your future.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So I would definitely tell people, pay yourself first.
Okay.
So my billboard would say, know your credit,
Mm-hmm.
no extended amount of credit card debt,
Okay.
and pay yourself first.
Okay. We like that.
That would be my tagline.
Is there anything else you would like to add before I wrap it up? Because we can talk if there's some points that you wanted to still make.
I would just say, you know, number one, this is great. Thank you for
Yes.
allowing me to be here, because it's important information.
Yeah.
You know, that people need to know. I always say that people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so financial literacy is something that's very passionate to me, because I feel like people just don't know. I wish I would have known,
Mm-hmm.
you know, growing up. And I did grow up with having a savings account and having my credit union account and going to the credit union, but it didn't mean, you know, as
Right.
much to me as a young person. But I think that educate yourself.
Okay.
You know, long-term planning is great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, always buy your big ticket items on the extended plan,
Okay.
as long as you can pay it off in that time period, because then you've bought the item and not paid any interest for it. But no, you know, educating yourself, I think, is important.
Mm-hmm.
Have a banking relationship,
Okay.
because that relationship is going to help you as you go along.
And I think nowadays, a lot of people are doing like opening accounts online, and they're not really seeing their banker face to face, but that's important.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. I've worked for the past 16 years before I retired. I worked at a community bank. I worked at large banks downtown, but I worked at a community bank. And the difference really was that I knew all my customers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was a community, and customers have been there, you know, for 50 years. But they still came to the bank. Now,
Yeah.
that is a challenge with the younger generation because they don't go into the bank.
Right.
You know, my daughter had to go into the bank and she had fraud on her account and she was really ticked off. You know, like,
She's like, what am I
"Go to the
doing?"
bank." Yeah. So yes, it is all online, but it is something to be said for that relationship.
Mhm.
You know, even if it's someone you can call to say, I've got a problem, can you help me with it?
Mhm.
You know, I have customers that travel out of town, had a lot of snow, you know, but they always knew they could call me. And if I wasn't available, they knew I'd get a phone call back,
Yeah.
and I could help them with whatever. That's priceless, you
Mhm.
know. And so having that relationship, I think is very important.
Okay.
You know, to have someone that you can sit down with and say, look, these are my long-term plans.
Yeah.
You know, how can I get there?
Okay.
You know, what do I need to do?
Okay.
And so that is, you know, and this environment that we're in right now, I mean, a lot of people, let's be realistic, they're losing their jobs.
Yeah.
You know, and so what do I do?
Mhm.
You know, so I think as a community, we need to, you know, help them with that process
Okay.
as much as we can.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
It's
Yes.
been my pleasure.
Yes, yes, and we'll definitely have to bring you back in the future. Yeah.
Would love that.
I always enjoy talking to you and listening to you about banking stuff. Plus, I get to see like you in your fabulous outfit.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure for
Yes.
sure.
Thank you for tuning into the Community Pulse today, and thank you again to our special guest Connie Simms.
My pleasure.
Stay tuned for our next episode, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.